Your neighbor Fred has just been arrested for animal cruelty. This is what happened. The police raided his house. They found that in his basement, he had dozens and dozens of puppies that he was breeding. He was keeping them in these very small cages. They couldn't even turn around. They were left to sort of stew in their own excrement. He subjected them to painful medical procedures. They lived in misery throughout their whole lives. And then when the puppies get big enough, he killed them. This is what he was doing. Everybody, there's a big moral outcry. We all think Fred has been doing something absolutely horrific, right? And Fred says, wait a minute. Let me explain. You don't understand. Fred is a sort of like chocolate gourmand. He really, really loves chocolate. Not just that he likes the taste of chocolate. It's almost like a part of his identity, sampling different kinds of fancy chocolates, all this sort of stuff, right? Fred really feels like chocolate is a big part of his life. But unfortunately for Fred, a couple years ago, he was in an accident. And the accident had an odd effect. He got a little bit of brain damage. And this meant that he can no longer taste chocolate. When he eats it, it just tastes bland, mealy. He can't get any of the enjoyment out of it that he used to. And Fred learned after a long study, the only way for him to be able to enjoy chocolate again was to take a certain hormone called cocamone. And unfortunately, this hormone is only produced in the brains of distressed puppies. And that's why Fred was doing this. He had to raise these puppies in order to harvest this hormone from their brains. And now he can eat chocolate and he feels like his life's a lot better. And Fred says, okay, guys, so that's what it was. Now you know the full story. And you can see why I did this. And of course, we don't accept Fred's justification. We don't accept that at all. We don't think that that's anywhere nearly as good enough a reason as you would need to take these animals and subject them to torment throughout their entire lives and then slaughter them and cut them up. And in my experience, when I teach this to students, they all agree with this, unless they can see where the discussion is going. Well, where is the discussion going? Of course, Norcross says, look, we all hate Fred. We think he's a moral monster. But most people in our society, the overwhelming majority of people in our society, do something morally equivalent to what Fred does. They eat animal products which have been produced on factory farms, as the vast majority of animal products are. And the animals on these factory farms are treated just the way that these puppies are treated. They're kept in terrible conditions, and then they're slaughtered, or whatever, depending on exactly whether you want milk or meat or whatever it is. And so Norcross thinks basically that eating factory farmed animal products is morally equivalent to what Fred does. And so if we accept that Fred acts immorally, then we should think that eating factory farmed animal products is similarly immoral.